Members, officials, good morning. The quorum is there, and I'll call the meeting to order. During the 2026 legislative session, as of the last meeting, we have already approved one item with a total allocation of $38.929 billion. There are two items on the agenda for today's meeting, both of which are new funding proposals. The total funding amounts to $314.7 million. If all funding proposals are approved, the cumulative number of approved projects will be 3, with total funding amounting to $39.2446 billion, excluding the $22.747 billion allocated to land acquisition and the block grant for computerization. The total funding for works projects amounts to $16.496 billion. Just a reminder that if there is any pecuniary interest, direct or indirect, in any items under discussion, please, in accordance with Rule 83A, disclose the nature of the interest before speaking. I also like to draw members' attention to Rule 84 regarding voting in cases where there is a direct pecuniary interest. Let's get down to the agenda proper. 92 TI, Public Transport Interchange to Tung Area 133B. Please refer to PWSC 2025-26-19. This paper is to upgrade 92 TI to Category A at an estimated cost of $184.2 million in money of the day prices. The administration consulted the panel on housing on February 3rd, and members supported the administration's proposal to refer the item to this subcommittee for consideration. A report summarizing the key points of the panel's discussion was made available to members by email on the 23rd of March. With us for this item are a list of officials. They're already in the list. I don't propose to introduce them one by one. Now it's time for questions. There are 7 members on the list. I'll read out the names. Mr. Dennis Leung, Mr. Lam Chen Sing, Ms. Christine Fong, Mr. Chen Haofeng, Mr. Kisen Yang, Mr. Lau Ka Keung, and Mr. Robert Lee. I'll allot 4 minutes for the Q&A, so please maximize the time available. Mr. Dennis Leung, Chairman. There is a necessity for this project. It is an essential project for the housing estate. I support that. The administration already gave us the explanation before. However, there are a couple of things I'd like to draw the administration's attention to. First, for these PTIs, they are located within the housing estate, and they are in the form of a loop within the housing estate, and many a time they would present certain safety issues for pedestrians who are crossing the roads. How can you make sure that when the pedestrians are crossing the roads, that there would be proper facilities for crossing? The pedestrians don't normally go to either end to cross the road. They would be crossing right in the middle. So we have to make sure we avoid traffic accidents. Now, this is an open design, and you have a lot of materials that running across, and it is really prone to dust collection. And this will be detrimental to hygiene. So are you going to be improving the environmental hygiene there because of the dust accumulation. And there are certain new designs that would provide some noise-absorbing materials. They have the paving materials with holes, and they would be absorbing the noise. So I hope that in terms of the temperature and also the noise level, there would be significant improvement to make it more pleasant for the people waiting for buses at the PTI. Thanks very much, Mr. Dennis Leung. Who's going to take the question? There are a couple of things. Road safety, hygiene, environmental hygiene, and noise, and so on. Mr. Lam, please. Mr. Andrew Lam, Assistant Director for Housing. Thank you very much, Mr. Leung, for the question. And I thank the member for his support for providing such an important PTI in Chung area. If I may make available some information about the design, first of all. Now, with this PTI, it was originally 3,000 square meters. However, we have expanded this to 6,800 square meters. So this will measure up to the design manual in terms of the pedestrian passageway and the room for queuing up, and this is really measuring up to a desirable situation. In the PTI, it is like a loop design that would be sufficient width to facilitate pedestrian flow, and we make it safe for people to use the PTI. Because of the segregation of traffic and pedestrian, people don't really have to walk across the PTI, and we also have the charging facilities, and we're going to have the railing to stop people making any crossing there. And also in terms of noise mitigation, the PTI is actually right under the podium, and on the ceiling we'll be paving it with noise-absorbing materials. And mechanical ventilation system will also be equipped with some device to deaden the noise there. And we keep natural ventilation, and we have the louver blind there to facilitate ventilation. And this is entirely in line with the design manual in terms of noise and ventilation. And we also have the facility of an elevated platform or hydraulic platform. This will facilitate the cleaning of the ceiling. Mr. Lam Chun Sing. Chairman, I am more concerned about the possibility of having some indoor waiting room. In Monshan, there is such a facility there, which is air-conditioned, and people can sit around while waiting for the buses. Last year, at the Shui PTI, I put a similar question before, and the administration said in reply that the space was rather limited. I think even the space is limited. We can make it smaller, or we can make the waiting room a smaller facility, and you can provide some benches. The young ones want to be occupying the seats in favor of the elderly, and people will have a more pleasant time during summer. So I'm wondering whether there can be an indoor waiting room there. In the long run, will the administration reveal the situation in such a way that if the PTI is of sufficient scale, there should be a provision mandating the provision of such an indoor waiting room? Or if the PTI is connected with a shopping mall I'm wondering whether we can reference the Yuman Square. In the mall there is an indoor waiting area. People will stay inside until the buses come along. So I'm wondering whether you can update the guidelines there. Second, about the numbers. Also, relating to 90 Ti project. Now, with this project, the recurring expenditure is $9.63 million. Now, for the Shengshui PTI, it is $6.9 million. Why is it that there is a 40% increase? It is similar size, and the charging facilities are of similar scale. And also, for the road works, now for this project, it costs $14 million, but the Shengshui one, it cost us $5.3 million. A far cry there is because of the different numbers of bus bays or what? Mr. Lam, Housing Department. Thank you. Thanks very much for the question. If I may address the question about the waiting area. Now, for PTIs, we adopt an environmental design with natural ventilation in order to minimize the costs arising from maintenance and repair. Now, in our microclimate study, we are of the view that the ventilation is really up to scratch. If we have to provide an air-conditioned waiting room there, then it would be adding to the costs. It will also necessitate the provision of the plant room that would be taking up space. In Dongzhong 133B, we are making the most of all the space for the PTI. If we were to provide the air-conditioned room, we may have to sacrifice some of the bus space there. Now, the member mentioned a moment ago that there are certain places where the seating would be provided. I'm sure that the administration and the bus operator will be prepared to provide a more pleasant environment there. So, on condition that we're not compromising the queuing arrangement, we are prepared to consider the provision of some seating there. The second question is in relation to the recurrent expenditure vis-a-vis the Shengshui Choice Check Estate. The two projects differ in many ways. Now, we do have some comparative figures there. Now, for Dongchong 133B PTI, the recurring expenditure minus the design variation compares favorably with other PTIs in recent times. For instance, in Dongchong Area 133B, we have streamlined the design, and we have also increased the ventilation areas, and through natural lighting, we can save a lot of energy, about 16% of the energy consumption, and thereby, on an annual basis, we can save as much as $260,000 in power consumption. So we are optimizing the design progressively. So when we look at the information, if you take away other design variations, this particular project, in terms of recurring costs, compares really favorably. And there was another question about the road works, the cost for the road works. Yes, the road works, it depends very much on the design of the PTI. Now, for the road portion, it is there for the buses, and Also, it is related to several drainage services work, and it would be hard for us to make comparisons like for like. Thank you.
I understand that, as asked by Mr. Lam, he's actually pointing to the meetings of Public Works Subcommittee or a Finance Committee, because in order to enable members to understand the details of the expenditure of a certain project so that we can determine whether it is reasonable, we will take reference of similar projects. In multiple documents, the government has mentioned that normally the government will stipulate whether it is comparable. And that's why Mr. Lam was asking about the expenditure. We understand that each project is unique, and that's why there will be different level of costs. To facilitate better understanding of the members and the general public, it will be desirable to give us more details about the comparability of the cost. We can understand your explanation. Mr. Lam also mentioned about the standardization of the waiting area. We do understand that there is limited space, and therefore it is not preferred to include a waiting area. And Mr. Lam Chin Sing has asked if it would be possible to standardize it. Is it possible for us to work together with the developer? Or within the public works project of the government, would we be standardizing the design of a waiting area in our future projects? Next, Ms. Christine Fong. Thank you, Chairman. Appreciate the explanation of Tung 133B's PTI. I share the same views as Mr. Lam Chin Sing, because as the member from the southeastern area of north of the New Territories, I believe that the revamped PTI is very successful. It is something that the future public works projects should learn from. The newly established Tung PTI, it has a total of 6,800 square meter, and the PTI in Mao and Shan is similar. If you have other information, feel free to correct me. There is also an air-conditioned waiting room. The size might vary. Inside the waiting room, it may accommodate about a dozen of people. They can step out of the area only when they see the bus coming. It is desirable for the citizens. It will be more pleasant for them. You are also adopting the design of a transportation island. I do agree that we have to concerns about the blind spot that might appear as the bus take turns. You also mentioned about the charging station. What would be the possible output if they are charging simultaneously? Since there is a parking bay of minibus, why didn't you also provide charging station for minibus? Thirdly, will you introduce some ventilation machines? It will help to have a more fresh air within the PTI. As mentioned, right about that, there will be some public housing estates. In terms of management, the housing will be taken care of by the housing department, while the PTI is managed by the transport department. I'm aware that the staircases are often quite dirty. We see people peeing there, even smoking. In terms of management, will you consider including more CCTV? Will you leave room for pipelines so that you can add CCTV in the future when necessary? Finally, if there is a pick-up and drop-off area for private vehicles, it is reasonable. However, when it is not being used, perhaps it will be set as a no-entry area, so that when the coaches has to park, the private vehicle will not block the way. I hope that the future public works projects can also consider these elements. Like in the Low House PTI in Chung, they still do not have an air-conditioned waiting room. I hope that it can be put in review as well. Assistant Director, Mr. Andrew Lam. Okay, let me respond one by one. Thank you for the questions from Ms. Christine Fong. Regarding the charging stations, generally the number of charging stations depends on the number of the franchise bus that they were using as well as the daily mileage. The housing department is working together with the transport department as well as the environmental department. We believe that we can provide 2 charging stations, so it will allow 6 franchise bus to charge together. We find it appropriate. If also about the power supply, we are providing 200 kilowatts per vehicle. As for minibus, at this particular PTI, we are only providing links for bus. The parking bay for minibus is actually located towards the northern side, that is on Tung Road. You can find 2 minibus lanes, allowing for 1 franchise bus station as well as 2 taxi stands. They are all covered. It is quite convenient for passengers to interchange for other modes of transportation. You also heard us explaining the vast ventilation area, so it shouldn't cause a problem. Also, CCTV, it might help manage the staircase. Well, for daily management, we will dedicate it to designated government department. I would like to invite members from the roads, highway departments to explain to it. I also want to respond to your questions about the provision of air conditioning in the waiting area. At 133B, there is no shopping mall. So it is different from the privately developed PTI. Second, when we consider the use of public money, we hope that we can adopt natural ventilation in order to reduce operation cost in the future. Of course, this is not a fixed rule. If we have future developments that is large enough, if the government is asking us to build other new PTI, we will once again discuss with the transport department and other related government departments to see if such provision is necessary. Okay, start from the highways department. Thank you for your question. Regarding the maintenance of hygiene, we will dedicate it to the environmental hygiene department. As for the addition of CCTV, we will also further discuss it. If needed, we can make arrangements. Ms. Fong might have some follow-up question. Perhaps we can leave it to the next round, if time allows. Next, Mr. Chen Hock Fong. Thank you, Chairman. In Chongqing East, we expect a surge in population. So in the future, there will be a total of 3 PTI. This is one of them, and I do support it. Surely it will resolve some of our issues in transportation. Well, because it is about 30 million cheaper than when you propose it to the panel on housing. I do have some questions still. At this location, there is a hexagonal pick-up and drop-off bay for buses. I believe that there will be more than just space for 6 franchise bus. Is there any room for future expansion? Because there will be quite a lot of residents living in Chongqing. Is the existing design limiting the operation of the parking bay, or you already estimate that there is no future need of expansion? You can see that there are 3 pick-up and drop-off bay on both left and right. I expect that you have to go in circle before you can pick up or drop off passengers. Isn't it not the most efficient design? Because when the bus enter into the PTI, they have to go in at least one round before they can drop off passengers. Can you optimize the design so that they can just drop off or pick up passengers directly? If you have to go in rounds within the PTI, it could be chaotic. As I understand, sometimes the bus may not have enough time and space to take the turn that they need. Would it be causing congestion? Well, regarding the strategic location of PTI, in your design, which type of demand are you trying to cope with? Because there are certain bus routes that is targeting at the Tung area, and some are targeting at the areas outside of Tung. So what would be your positioning? Thank you, Chairman. And thank you for your questions, Mr. Chen Haofeng. In terms of design and plan, I will first respond to those questions regarding the arrangement of bus routes as well as actual operation. I will defer it to members of Transport Department. You have put it correctly. The Tung East extension is expecting an addition of 120,000 population. And we are targeting to take the Tung East MTR station as our core. And in Zone 99 and Area 113 and in Area 133, there will be 3 PTI. For 133B, we will be serving about 30 to 40,000 residents who are moving in at a later stage, as well as those who need to commute in the neighboring area. It will be triaging the passengers of the same area. Through our transportation assessment, we understand that by optimizing the design, the capacity of PTI has already been increased from 3,000 to 680,000. We are now allowing 6 franchise buses to operate here. If there is any future transportation needs, the Transport Department will also shift the route design of different buses. If necessary, we may also arrange for certain routes to share the bus bay or to allow for certain routes to pick up and drop off at the roadside bus stop. I would like to defer the following questions to members from Transport Department. Please be brief. Thank you for your question, Mr. Chen. In our plan, the major function of 133B PTI is to provide bus services from Tung West to Tung City Center. There are also certain routes that is going towards the New Territories areas. They will be serving as a terminal station serving residents in Tung. Mr. Chen also concerns about the actual operation of buses within the PTI. As we can see, we will allow for a drop-off bay for the bus drivers to drop off passengers first, and then they will pick up passengers at another bay. It will be convenient for the passengers to leave the bus compartment. Second, we also allow more time for drivers to operate more smoothly. As Assistant Director Andrew Lam has mentioned, in consideration of the demands in 133B, apart from additional bus route, well, actually there are also some bus bay outside of the PTI. Bus routes will be able to stop at those stops as well. That's all from me. Thank you. Members, judging the current progress, I would like to do some time management works. Now we still have 8 members who have shown their intent to speak. I hope that after the questions of Mr. Yang Wing-kit, I will draw the line. Please control your time. 4 minutes question and answers include. Please be brief in your questioning so that the government officials will have sufficient time to respond to it. Given our existing progress, I would see if time allows for a second round of your follow-up questions. If not, here's my apologies. But there are different channels for you to submit your comments and questions so that the administration can respond to you.
Mr. Kissenyang, Chairman, I speak in support of this PTI at Chung area 133B. However, I've got some comments or questions for the administration. First, about the charging facilities. There are 6 bus routes, and there are only 6 charging points. Now in Dongchong, the buses are inter-district routes, and it would take about 2 hours for the round trip, and the frequency would be 10-15 minutes. Now you're using the 200 kilowatt charging facilities, and that's the fast charging. Would it be enough for the buses to be charged up? Unless you have more buses available, I don't think the bus operators will be deploying too many buses because this is, after all, unscientific. So will the charging facilities, the 6 charging points, would that be anywhere near enough? Second, about safety. If you're using fast charging, it's okay indoor, but if we were to increase the output to make the charging faster, then the output will be even larger. So I'm wondering whether this would be safe enough indoors. I don't think it is allowed. The fast charging would be allowed indoors. And also, this is also related to Mr. Christine Fong said, that is the minibuses. Now, we are talking about the green transport, that there will be electric minibuses as well. And this is very close to the minibus bay. Will you be providing charging facilities for the minibuses as well? Now, if we implement the green transport policy and in absence of any charging facilities, it simply doesn't cut it. So unless you allow the minibuses to charge up in the bus or in the PTI, otherwise it would be very difficult for you to increase the charging facilities elsewhere on street. So I hope you will take this into account. TD or Housing Department? Yes, I defer to the Housing Department. Ms. Vivian Kwan, Principal Transport Officer. Thank you. Thanks very much for the question. About the charging facilities for the minibuses, at the present moment, the government is implementing green transport policy. Funding has been earmarked for 600 electric buses to be procured. And we would ask the relevant department to provide the charging facilities for the buses to charge up there. So other than the PTI in the bus depots, there would also be charging facilities available. So the buses can be charged up at the depot as well, in addition to the PTI. As to the minibuses, other than the bus terminus, according to the EEB, the popularization, the roadmap for the popularization of EVs in Hong Kong, they are minded to make available certain charging facilities in different districts, and the minibuses can also be charged up there. Mr. Yang's question is about the safety of providing fast charging indoors. Mr. Yang, if you don't provide for that, it would be hard for the buses to be charged up, but the buses simply will not go back to the depot for charging, and they will be using up the power on the way, and they do need to have the fast charging. I'm wondering whether you would have considered the safety implications for fast charging. Will the administration give us a reply in writing? We are concerned, of course, about the availability of charging facilities. Safety is also critically important. So please, a reply in writing. Mr. Lau Kao Kao, Chairman. Chao Kuo-ling, the administration is going to be building the welfare facilities, including the daycare centers for the elderly, neighborhood elderly centers, and child care center. Right, this is the subject for the second item, Mr. Lau. We're not on the second item. We're still on Dongchong area 133B. You're wanting to save your questions until the next item. Thank you. Mr. Robert Lee, Chairman, thank you. We are discussing this PTI at Dongchong area 133B. I am supportive of that, mainly because this ties in with the development of Dongchong New Town extension, and is also catering for the needs of the population there. I've got a number of points to make. Now, in the paper, it mentions that $180 million would be needed for the project, and there is a reduction of about 17% compared with the previous proposal. That was by $34 million, and that's because the return tender come back lower than anticipated. We have achieved some savings, and this is all well and good. However, I'd like the administration to let us know whether you can ensure the quality of work and also the safety despite the reduction in costs. Second, the government only has finite resources. I think we have to save where possible. There might be some deviation in your estimate. Are there any factors that that will lead to variation in the estimate? Mr. Lam, Chairman, thank you. Thanks very much, Mr. Lee, for your question. The paper already mentions that the return tender prices come back more competitive. It also reflects the market situation. In the entire project, we are proceeding on the basis of the entire public housing project, and the PTI is tendered as part of the entire housing project. That the tender prices come in or come back at varying levels. We find that the contractor is fully aware of the details of the PTI, and they also measuring up to the technical requirements. We do have an engineering team to examine the tender documents, and we would monitor the quality of work and also their performance in the course of work. Mr. Robert Lee, any follow-up? No. Mr. Quisip, Chairman, thank you. Right, on the allocation for this item, it is similar to that for 90 Ti. I am in support of this project. However, I've got some questions here. There are 6 parking bays for charging purposes. So would you give us some information about the extent to which the bus operators are using e-buses? Upon completion, will you require the bus operators to deploy electric buses in order to improve the air quality there in the district. Second, in parallel, there is the on course, and this is something like 12.5% of the entire project. In the previous term, I know that the chairman did ask whether there is any room for improvement. The government said there would be a review, but we're still looking at the same level. Would there be any room for further compression? Mr. Lam? Chairman, thank you very much. Mr. Ip. Now, for public buses, I defer to the TD, Madam Kwan, who will address the issue. If I may take the question regarding on cost, the administration is entrusting the project to the Housing Authority, and we would pay on cost to the party being entrusted, and they will involve the design contract administration and administrative overheads. And the Housing Authority, when taking on these non-HA projects or public projects, will charge an on-cost in order to recoup the costs. And that would avoid a situation that would be there would be a cross-departmental subsidy. For the 12.5% on cost, the design takes a 4.8%, contract administration 4.8%, administrative overheads 2.9%. So on the basis of cost recovery, the administration would need some time to review the arrangement regarding on cost. For the time being, we don't have any conclusion. Mr. Ip, so there is no room for further compression, is there? Mr. Lam? The Housing Authority will still need to discuss with the administration on that one. Right, over the years, we have been expressing concerns about the indirect costs or the on costs when entrusting projects or certain contingencies. So earlier at the PWSC, we issued a paper regarding the review of on costs and contingencies for public works, PWSC 1 to 2025, 26, 13. Now, in that paper, number 13, there is mention of the considerations underlying the on cost and also the percentage involved, as well as all the contingencies involved. Members may wish to have a look at that paper, and if you have any further questions, you're welcome to raise them through the PWSC, or you may wish to get in touch with the administration direct. I think we should achieve improvement as time goes by. Historically, it has been 12.5%. Is there any room for further improvement? I think we need some time to ascertain the appropriate, reasonable level. Mr. Lam, any supplement? Chairman, thank you. Well, the paper has outlined the on costs payable to the Housing Authority and also the way in which this is calculated. And we have asked, or we have commissioned the consultant to carry out the work, and we did make comparison that for the engineering work and the other projects at 15%, 18%, they compare favorably, and we will certainly be optimizing the arrangement and review the level of the percentage.
Next, Mr. Hong come in. Mr. Chris Im, any further questions regarding electric buses? Yes, Transport Department, please respond briefly. As mentioned, The environmental department has sponsored the bus company to purchase 6 electric buses, and before 2030, they will be in operation by phases. When this new PTI commences its services, if there are appropriate routes, we will encourage them to adopt electric buses. Next, Mr. Hong Kam-in. Thank you, Chairman. Appreciate the introduction from the administration. I really support the principles of fitness for purpose and no frills. That's why I support the building of PTI at Chung 133B. Just a few reminders. I have been a district councillor for many years. I am also the chairman of the transport committees. The ventilation of many PTI are problematic. My suggestion is that you should add certain fans on top of the waiting area so that the ventilation can be improved for the passengers. Second, please be aware of the blind spot both for the passengers and the bus drivers. Third, please reserve sufficient electricity. For many PTI that we now have, they actually do not have sufficient power supply. You have to reserve sufficient power supply for buses to charge. You have to reserve sufficient power supply for even more charging facilities for the sake of future development. Fourth, the public housing development, well, actually in NS2, it is expected to complete by 2030. But the completion of this PTI is 2033 to 2034. In other words, the residents have to wait for 3 to 4 more years before they can use this PTI. Is that the case? Is the commencement of bus operation the same time as the public housing estates in use? Mr. Andrew Ling from the Housing Department. Thank you, members' comment. Many of them are very useful, and they are all noted. I would like to respond to your comments regarding our ventilation design. We have adopted a environmentally friendly ventilation design, and it also adopts high energy efficiency. However, we will not compromise the level of ventilation. In our design, we have a basis of a research report regarding microenvironment. We want to make sure that we are able to uphold the pollutants level that is required of us. Therefore, when they sense that the ventilation or the exchange of fresh air is insufficient, there will be automatic controls of the speed of the fans. So on one hand, it is energy efficient. On the other hand, it is also fulfilling the requirement of ventilation. Well, as for the moving in of residents, as mentioned, the PTI is working in tandem with the moving in of the residents of Tung 133. It should be by 2030, people will start moving in. As residents move in, we will be providing sufficient PTIs for them. In neighboring areas, there might be certain developments that move in a little bit earlier. We will work together with the Transport Department for interim arrangements. There might be some temporary bus bays or bus terminals. We do have space for that. With such arrangements, the bus route will be able to access those areas. Next, Michelle Tang. Thank you, Chairman. I support the construction of the PTI at Tung 133B. this PTI is very important because the future population in Chung is expected to increase by 120,000. People start moving into the new public housing estates, and they do need bus stations. The PTI is on the ground level of the podium. It is very nearby to the Tung MTR station. It will be very easy for the residents to interchange between MTR and buses. I hope that the construction will be completed successfully in order to benefit all the nearby residents. And also hope to see a prudent development. I have looked at the documents of PWSC 2025-26, document number 19. I have a number of questions. Well, since the cost of building materials and the electric charging facilities is going to surge, would you be going beyond your expenditure? How will you take care of that? Is the commencement of bus route be in schedule of the moving in? Will you plan to announce bus schedule ahead of time, say 6 months before, or to take in the opinions of the residents in order to better fit their needs? Thank you for your support. Here are my responses to your questions. First, about cost control. In terms of cost, we have enhanced the cost efficiency on many items greatly by improving our design. This is the factor that we have considered at the stage of planning. Therefore, this is a very optimal plan that we are putting before you, and it also have high cost efficiency. As we begin the project, we have to select a appropriate contractor. We have also reserved funding for the adjustment in construction materials. Together with the contingency fund, we trust that it will be sufficient to cater for unexpected factors. The budget that we apply from the Legislative Council has already reflected such potential adjustments. Therefore, we have already factored in those risks, and we believe that they are under control. We also pledge that we will strictly monitor the performance of our contractors in order to complete the construction on time and control our cost. You have also asked that we might need communications with the Transport Department. Well, actually, it's not just 6 months. Before the completion of the construction works, as long as we can see the date of completion, we will start discussing with the Transport Department about the arrangement of public transportation. How shall we discuss with the bus company? How shall the routes be designed, etc.? Upon the completion of bus route planning, the Transport Department will inform and communicate with the stakeholders in due time. Next, Mr. Lam Wai Kong. Thank you, Chairman. I do support the construction of the PTI at Tung 133B to provide further support of the commuting needs of the residents there. I also appreciate the rest room of the for the bus drivers. I have a number of questions. I am aware that you have arranged taxi stands and minibus outside of the PTI. Why didn't you include it in your current plan? During peak hours, sometimes we have to rely on other non-franchise bus. For instance, certain residential areas will prepare their own shuttle bus, but I did not see any parking bay for those non-franchise buses or coaches. What is your plan to provide arrangements for them? Members also concerns about the ventilation for the residents while they're waiting for bus. there are certain provisions for ventilation within the PTI. However, when people are gathering around the waiting area, will you consider adding certain fans so that when the weather is hot and humid, it will be more pleasant for them as they wait? During the construction period, according to your paper, I can see that you will request the contractors to provide reports regarding the arrangement of waste. How about the noise, air pollution, the transportation or the storage of construction waste, especially the specific details of fireproofing facilities? Apart from just paperwork, will you send someone to inspect it? Regarding the waiting area and ventilation, I believe that members have repeatedly asked on the same items. See if you have any further response. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for your comments. Inside the PTI, we will be reserving power supply for other related services. For instance, the bus operators may need to install certain display facilities, or maybe some wireless network services. We have reserved power supply for those purposes. In the future, if the operators believe that they need to install additional fans, we will be able to provide sufficient power supply infrastructure in order to cater for that. I don't have anything to supplement regarding the waiting area. As for the parking bay of buses, I have to first explain why can't we accommodate the taxi stand and the minibus stop inside the PTI. We have taken reference to the Handbook for Transportation Planning. We also need to take reference to certain planning standards. Together, we have to consider the space that is taken up by the public housing development, because we still have the parking spaces, welfare facilities, 5 levels on the podium, as well as the public housing estates on top of the PTI. We have to strike a balance, the use of space for all these different parties. We have been in discussion with the Transport Department so that we can enlarge the area of PTI as well as its capacity. Well, together with the CEDD, because they are building roads and other infrastructure outside the PTI. We discovered that right at Tung Road, they are able to provide a parking spaces right on the street level, including 2 taxi stands and 1 minibus stop. Thank you. Next, Mr. Andrew Lam. Thank you, Chairman. I don't have any special concerns about the budget you're asking for, but under building services, ventilation, I'm concerned about its design standards. In the document, it is comparing this project with 88 Ti. For the documents of 88 Ti, they did not use the terminologies of building services, but they include a mechanical smoke extraction system. It takes up over 50% of the budget. And here, the building services is only taking up around 20%. So I do not have questions in this area. My point is, the overall design of 88 Ti allowed ventilation on 3 sides. They are concealed on 3 sides for 88 Ti, but the ventilation is allowed. Natural ventilation is allowed for 133B. There is also monitoring over pollution and automated control on the speed of fans within your system. They are all very positive. I'm just talking about the ventilation system. So if you compare a design with 3 sides concealed and a design with 3 sides ventilating, how are you going to recalculate your ventilation level? Would there be different requirements? What are the considerations of your engineering consultant? Apart from the environmental factor, nowadays we have more and more electric vehicles. The pollutants that they will be emitting will be less and less. Are there such related data? I hope that you will not be just adopting a certain standard that applies to different sites.
Mr. Lam? Chairman, thank you. Thanks very much, Mr. Lam, for the question. In terms of ventilation and air quality, we reference the professional guide of the EPD. There is a value for nitrogen oxide 200 and nitrogen oxide 30,000 particles per hour, and this is part of the design standard. So in the PTI, whether it is enclosed on 3 sides or whether it is open on 3 sides, we would have to adopt this particular standard. And Mr. Lam also referred to the other PTI, and the ventilation is not as good as this one. And we also have this smoke ventilation system as mandated by the FSD. So we're not really comparing like with like between the 2 projects. So there is a reduction of 1,800 square meters. Mr. Lam, I'm not asking you to consider the smoke discharge system. I'm glad that you addressed the question. I think this is something that you have to look at. I think we have to accept the environmental standard. But when you consider the ventilation system, you don't have regard to the physical environment. You just superimpose the standard. Whether it is properly ventilated on 3 sides, you still apply the same standard all the same. Would this lead to an elevation of the costs unnecessarily? So I'm asking you to consider the actual circumstances, but this doesn't really stop me supporting this project, just for the record. Mr. Lam, my understanding is that you refer to the standard from the health point of view. Other than the pollutants, you have also have regard to the temperature, the humidity, and so on. When you commission the consultants or the contractors to carry out the ventilation system, this is one of the important elements. The pollutants, the humidity, the temperature, they are important elements. Now, how big the mechanical ventilation system should be would very much depend on how ventilated the area. If you have a good ventilation on 3 sides, there should be some adjustment. Is that my understanding? Mr. Lam, thank you for the opportunity. Chairman, I agree that when we design the ventilation, it has to be context-specific. We look at the specific environment before we consider the size of the ventilation facilities. But having said that, now for area 133B, we are able to satisfy the demand, and the air exchange would be no less than 15 times per hour. Now, these objective criteria must be abided by the consultant, but it has to be context specific. Of course, we will design on the ultimate design on the basis of the physical environment. All right, I've drawn a line there. The first round is over and done with. I notice that Ms. Christine Fong would very much like to have a second go at the item, and time still permits, and I let Ms. Fong have the floor for 2 minutes for the Q&A. Chairman, thank you. Also, the charging facilities for the minibuses on Hillfong Road, there is a drop-off point there. I don't think it's being fair. The TD is subsidizing the provision of electric minibuses. I think some consideration must be given to this. Perhaps on Hillfong Road, there should be some semi-enclosed charging facilities for the minibuses as well. In European countries, they also have the outdoor charging facilities as well. Now you have the standard and guidelines. I think they are lagging behind times. You talk about CO2 or CO in the community out there in Hanghao, Lohas Park, Guntong. The air quality leaves so much to be desired. You said you have a sophisticated sensing system. I think it should be deployed to the district to improve the situation. Ms. Hong said a moment ago you may wish to provide the pedestal fans. And are you going to do something about it? Will you have the fresh air pumping into the area? We're building a new PTI. And I think you have to move on with the times in terms of the facilities. Mr. Lam? Chairman, thank you very much. Madam Fong, for the question. If I may supplement here, like the member said, the minibus stops are outside the PTI area, so we do not make an arrangement for the charging facilities, which are exclusively for buses. But as we said, the administration or the TD will, depending on the needs, provide for charging facilities for minibuses going forward. As to the extraction system, we are working on the basis of the natural ventilation plus the mechanical ventilation device to make sure that there would be a fresh air being pumped into the PTI. Madam Fong talked about the sensing devices in the ventilation system. That the sensor will ascertain a certain threshold which will determine the activation or the velocity of the ventilation system to make sure that an air quality would be guaranteed. Thank you. Right, if there are no further questions, and I'll put this item to the vote. Will those in favor of PWSC 20, 25, 26, 19, please raise their hands. Those against? I think the majority of members voting are in favor of this item. The proposal is therefore endorsed. Now we're taking a vote on whether to recommend the FC to discuss this item further. I now put the following question to the vote in accordance with Rule 41A. The PWSC recommends that the FC further discuss the proposal set out in PWSC 20, 25, 26, 19. Just a reminder that if this motion is carried, it means that the subcommittee recommends that the FC discuss the paper further. If it is rejected, it means the subcommittee does not recommend that the FC further discuss the matter. Will those in favor of the motion please raise their hands? Those against? I think the majority of members voting rejected this motion. The motion was rejected. The subcommittee does not recommend that FC further discuss this paper, PWSC 2025-2619. So much for this item. Thank you very much for being with us. We'll be moving on to the next item. Now, shall we invite the relevant officials in? The next item, 3SG, provision of welfare facilities and the development of Ling Village Site E. Will members please refer to paper PWSC 2025-2620. This paper seeks to recommend the upgrading of 3SG to Category A at an estimated cost of $130.5 million in money of the day prices. The administration consulted on February 2nd the panel on welfare services. Members supported the administration's proposal to refer the funding proposal to this subcommittee for consideration. A report summarizing the key points of their discussion was made available to members by email on the 23rd of March. The list of officials attending for this item is on the agenda. I don't propose to introduce them. Now Q&A time. Members who have indicated to speak, and there are 9 on the list. Now I locked 4 minutes for the Q&A. And coming up at 11 is the council meeting. So please make the best of the time available. Now the list of members to speak. Mr. Lau Ka-keung, Ms. Jovi Chen, Mr. Andrew Yao, Mr. Lam Chen Sing, Dr. Junius Ho, Mr. Dennis Leung, Mr. Ken Wong, Mr. Chong Ho Fong, and Mr. Hong Kam Yin. 4 minutes for the Q&A, please. First off, Mr. Lau Ka-keung. Chairman, thank you. The administration proposes that at the development of Ling Village Site E, welfare facilities be provided, and they include daycare center for the elderly, neighborhood elderly center, and child care center. I am pleased to see that the administration providing these facilities to meet the needs. Para 8 says that there will be 18,600 in terms of additional population. Now, will the administration give us the age profile of these 18,600 people for us to understand better the actual needs for these facilities? And Para 11, for the child care center, it is catering for children from birth to under 3. Are there similar facilities for children between 3 and 6 to meet the demand? And Para 11 and 17 refer to the annual recurring expenditure of $24.96 million. Will the administration please let us know the breakdown of the recurring expenditure. How much would it be devoted to repair and maintenance, and how much to manpower needs?
請何啟
And the Secretary, Mr. Ho Kai-ming. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for your question. We do not have the estimated population at this moment. However, according to the standard of planning, that is a certain level. As long as a certain population level is met, there will be a new GE or new CCC. That's why we would like to seek approval on this project. As for the child care center in our plan, it is serving both from birth to 3 and 3 to 6. But the majority will be from birth to under 3 years old. It is an independent CCC. There will be a lot of children being kept here so that their parents can go to work. For those from 3 to 6 years old, there will be a number of nursery plus kindergarten. So they will be taking up certain demands as well. That's why we are focusing on those from birth to 3 years old, but there are also limited spaces for those from 3 to 6. I would like to defer the remaining questions to Mr. Alan Yong. Thank you for your questions. Regarding the recurrent expenditure, since our services are people-oriented, so about 70% are salary, 20% other expenses, including the daily utensils and facilities required in the center, 9% daily maintenance and operation. Any follow-up question? No, it's very clear. Thank you. Next, Ms. Jovi Chen. Thank you, Chairman. It has been over a month, but the document is still I believe that a lot of comments at the panels on the welfare are being incorporated in this document, including the cost estimations as well as the scope of works, and it has turned from the 6 pages document to 70 pages. We see that there is item E, which is the energy conservation features, as well as about $3 million for fittings and furnitures. In paragraph 27, you have mentioned that you will achieve 5% of energy saving, and the payback period will be about 9 years. I just have questions about the furnitures and equipments, because in paragraph 6, you have mentioned that all the public works, including the constructions of welfare facilities, it will take about 5.5 years. Then the social welfare department will be dedicated to the designated welfare institutions for fitting. That means there will be internal fittings works in the future. My question is the existing furniture and equipment you include here practical? Regarding the geographical location of the site, it is mainly relying on Ling Road. So the connecting link to Ling Road is also very important. I understand that there will be additional connection link. It will be sending to HKHS for foundational work. How about the connection link? When is it going to be completed? Can it be completed before the completion of the welfare facilities as well as the housing project? I would like to defer this question to Mr. Alan Yong. Thank you. Thank you for your question. Regarding the furniture and equipment, it is based on the usual furniture and equipment that we approve in the recent years. I understand your concerns. You want it to be included in a timely manner. If the budget is insufficient in the future, we will support them in applying for further subsidies. We are aware that there are many institutions who will allocate other fundings like the Jockey Cup funding in order to add the facilities that is required. We will support them in the application as well. Any follow-up question? Well, we are talking about 6.5 years later. Perhaps the equipment that is required at that time might not fit their needs, so they will not use what you prepared for them. That's why you need to apply for subsidies. Is that what you mean? Well, we're talking about the handrails, the facilities for the elderly and furnitures. They are common. But in our funding, we have a mechanism in place that can cover the inflation rate in the coming 5 years. And we also are also not ruling out the new or additional facilities. Perhaps we have not subsidized the new equipment that is required, but if needed, we will support them in the application of other fundings. If I understand you correctly, Ms. Jovi Chen is asking about the furniture. Mr. Yong is responding that the funding that we have set aside can cover the predictable needs in the coming 5 years. As time goes by, if there are new demands, it will not be covered here. It will be covered by additional funding or the recurrent expenditure. Correct. For example, the air conditioners. The welfare institutions will install air conditioners on their own. At the moment, we are allowing for a frequency change in air conditioning. Maybe after 4 years, there will be some new models. If that is the case, we will encourage them to adopt something that is more efficient in energy saving. Thank you very much. Well, because when you tell me that you are going to supplement the insufficient funding, I'm quite worried. But now I understand that there is a funding ceiling. What about the road surface? Allow me to supplement. Regarding the new pathways linking Chakualing Road and Koling Road to Chakualing Village, we expect the project to commence in March 2025, and it will be completed by 2029. The works are still in progress. I don't have the information on hand. Thank you. Time management will be required. Members who intend to speak, or if there are other members who intend to speak within the complex, please come to the meeting room as soon as you can and press the intend to speak button. After the questions by Mr. Andrew Yao and Mr. Lam Cho Sing, I will draw the line. Please show your intent as soon as possible. Next, Mr. Andrew Yao. Thank you, Chairman. I have a follow-up question about the surface capacity and the demand, as well as the foundation of its calculation. You're talking about the 100 quota for the childcare center. Are there any specific numbers? How about the penetration rate and the gap of our provision of our services? Well, because we want to deepen reform and concerns the well-being of our population. So we have to be flexible in order to cater for the changes. Do we have existing reports? What are the estimated moving in dates, as well as the service mode of the institution, as well as its level of expansion? Thank you very much for your question. In Kwun Tong District, we are now providing 452 spaces as for DE. So in Hong Kong wide, the waiting period is around 5 months, and in Kwun Tong is around 4.3 months of waiting period. In light of the aging population, we will try our best to provide for such facilities in the newly developed area, because for every 15,000 to 20,000 population, there shall be one daycare center. In Kwun Tong, we have 11 neighborhood elderly center. We also want to match the planning standard so that there will be facilities catering for the aging population in the future. Mr. Andrew Yao, any follow-up questions? How about the child care center? By 2033, there shall be 6 child care centers in place. One of them will be situated in Kwun Tong. There is no registry for waiting. So either within or outside Kwun Tong, if they have such needs, they can sign up for it. This is not the sole provider of such service. This is an independent childcare center. We do have a lot of N+K, that is nursery and kindergarten, in the same district, supporting children from age 3 to 6. If there are sufficient land, we will seek to build up more CCC in order to lessen the burdens of parents so that the birth rate in Hong Kong will increase. Thank you. Any follow-up questions? No. Once again, I would like to remind members, after the questions of Mr. Lam Chen Sing, I will draw the line so that there will be sufficient time for us to vote on this item. Next, Mr. Lam Chen Sing. Thank you, Chairman. For the internal fitting, it is costing 39 million Hong Kong dollars. The fitting out work has to wait until the construction works is completed. Then the welfare premises will be included as a financial secretary incorporated as a government property. Then there will be other government departments taking care of the fitting out works. It might take about 4 to 5 years. Since construction materials might increase in cost because of inflation, sometimes the rate could be quite substantial. Comparing with other welfare premises item, do you find it sufficient? If insufficient, well, as Assistant Director had mentioned, are they able to apply for other fundings so that it will be enough for the fitting out works? Second, I'm concerned about the parking space, especially for the daycare center for the elderly. A lot of shuttle buses will be coming in and out of the centers. Sometimes family members will drive the elderly to the center. We do have a union who help transfer patients that are non-urgent. Some design of the older public housing estates are not very user-friendly. There is no parking spaces, or after it is parked there is no covered pathway so that we can transfer the elderly on wheelchair into the center. Since it is a new design, are you providing sufficient parking spaces? When we have to transfer the elderly, will you provide any accessible pathways? It is easy for them to access the podium as well as the center after the car is parked. I cannot see the route of the vehicles in your plan because you're just focusing on the Charcoal Lane Road. I want to understand more about the parking spaces. I would like to say a few words and I will defer to Mr. Yong. Regarding parking spaces, we have reserved spaces for the shuttle bus of the elderly center to park there. However, for the private vehicles of family members, I don't believe that there will be a lot of parking spaces reserved for them, or at least not within this construction site, because there will be parking spaces in the PhD but not in Site E. I hope you will understand, because we have to consider the overall development of Charcoal Lane Village. There is allocations of different functionality. As Mr. Yong has mentioned, we shall make appropriate arrangements. This is the price ceiling that we are including here. When the welfare institution is submitting tender as an operator, we will look at the strategies and whether or not they have other subsidies regarding the fitting out works. So one of our rating criteria is whether or not they will be able to make good use of our funding. We also encourage them to apply for funding in order to add value to this center. That is how we operate. See if Mr. Yong have anything to add. Thank you, Chairman. Regarding the fitting out costs, we are taking reference to the recent fitting out projects. We have also considered the inflation rate in the coming 5 years. The cost displayed here is the money of the cost. If the inflation rate is high, we will also review the budget here. When we invite tender, we will follow up and adjust. As for parking spaces, we have reserved parking spaces for the shuttles transferring elderly to and from the elderly center. There is also a pick-up and drop-off area. The emergency vehicles like the ambulances can make use of that. For family members, they shall use the parking spaces within the public housing estate. If they are just parking temporarily for pick-up, it shall not cause any problem. Thank you, Chairman.
Dr. Chin is Ho. Chairman, thank you. For facilities of this type, earlier we raised a similar question. Is there any room for compressing the charges? The PWSC papers contain the contingencies and all relevant expenditure. And also the supervision. They're hovering around 12% or thereabout. Now, for these particular facilities, whether it be the welfare facilities or the PTIs, they are built on the basis of the housing development. So there is a total expenditure for the construction of public housing, but you are squeezing a certain amount for welfare facilities, and not so much school, but also for car parks and so on. That you have the overarching project, but you are fine-tuning the project in such a way that you squeeze something for this. Now there are items for drainage, foundation, building. They are part of the entire project. Why do you have to charge for that? It seems to me that we are spending more unnecessarily. I know that Department B may be charging Department B, but for a third party, it would boost the costs. And we also have the design fee or 12%. I understand if this is a standalone project, it would make sense, but this is a part of the entire project, part of the big project. My observation is that this is really unnecessary. Now, for this project, the 8.4% for the housing authorities, design and contract administration. Now, where is the design plan? We don't even have the layout plan or the plan for the design. How do you split up the DE, the NEC, and the CCC, and then you're collecting the money, and you're not making available the minute details? And they are doing the job, but not doing the job well enough. And also, there is the supervision. The housing authority will supervise the project in any case. Why do you have to charge an additional item for the contract administration? That the main contractor would be supervising the whole thing in any case. And why do you have to be charged for the contract administration for this item? It seems to me that the whole costs would be inflated considerably. And site made available in 2026, completion would happen in 2030. So I think this is a really wasteful use of resources. And you are making up these numbers. If we can compress the numbers, I don't think we need to spend $120, $130 million. Maybe $50, $60 million would be about right. Financially, it would look a lot more convincing. Now, we are really about a bit tight with our money, so we have to look at all these details. Right, Mr. or Dr. Ho has stated his own observation and his own comments on this item and the specifics. Well, architect's plan. Well, Dr. Ho didn't see any architect's plan to convince him of the expenditure for all these different items. On that score, Mr. Ho, Under Secretary, or the ASD, Mr. Lau, any comments? We hope that we will focus on this particular item, the whole design, the costs, and also the functionalities. As regards policy issues and macro issues, I think you might wish to just address them in brief terms. I defer to the ASD. Mr. Willie Sen, Chief Architect, Chairman. In this project, the government will form the site, and the site will be entrusted to the Housing Authority. It is the grantee, and it is also the representative of the entire project. Right now, they haven't quite taken over the site yet. By the time the funding has been earmarked and all the documentation is ready, they will be getting on with their project in the capacity as the grantee, and they will do the design and all the rest of it. As we deepen the design, the fees will be there to pay for the housing society for this project. Now, this is of a preliminary design. We don't have the plans for the time being. However, members can rest assured the area is 2,730 square meters. And this is working on the basis of our projection. The ASD would have regard to similar projects historically to ascertain whether this is reasonable. We think that this is reasonable, and it would be comparable to the price if we were to take this on ourselves. And this is going to be the ceiling which will be worked into the deed. By the time the Housing Society completes the project, they will be collecting the fees on a reimbursable basis. They have to produce all the evidence. They will have to submit a report to us, and we will disperse the funding on the basis of the work that has been done. There will be no overspend there. Well, Dr. Ho is really concerned, very committed. Now, for the public works, the costing, the cost control, I hope that the government will build on the existing system and play a better role in as a gatekeeper. Dr. Ho mentioned the on-cost payable. I hope the members will refer to the PWSC meeting issued earlier, PWSC 252613. This is a paper submitted by the administration, a review of the on-cost of the project, the contingencies of the public works projects. The paper covers more or less the component of the on-cost, the consideration, as well as the way in which the costs are computed, including the contingencies. Mr. Lau has already referred to that earlier on. We're pleased to see that the administration will be evolving with the times and keep the project costs under regular review and all the on-costs and so on. All right. Let's hope that there will be some good news from the administration upon the completion of the review. Dr. Ho, Chairman, we'll have to wait for the handover of the site before the sum will be dispersed. This will not be completed until 2030-32, and there would be about 6 years. I mean, the project would be 6 years away. We don't even have the plan or the design plan. Now, you are coming here for $130 million. Are you being too early? Because we have to wait for the progress of the site. Wouldn't it be better for you to have a more accurate grasp of the numbers before you seek the funding? Mr. Ho, or anyone from the administration? One word, Chairman. With endorsement of the funding, the administration will have to enter into an agreement with the housing society. In absence of this amount, it would be hard for us to enter into anything at all with the housing society. Dr. Ho has a point. Funding will not be disbursed until 2032 upon completion, and the funding will not be used until 2033. So we must have the funding available before we go ahead with the project. All right, there are 6 members on the list. Looking at the time, I propose that we have the meeting extended by 15 minutes so that we will be able to get this item out of the way and put it to the vote. So please, members, make it brief when you take the floor to speak, and allow more time for the administration to address your questions. Let's hope that we can get this item out of the way today. Mr. Dennis Leung, please. Chairman, thank you. The FTU, Mr. Bill Tang did comment on this particular project before, in the sense that there is an absence of any design plan for this project. Historically, we would be presented with more details about the projects. So I'm not sure whether it has anything to do with the involvement of different organizations. Historically, it would be the housing department that would be doing the design, and there would be elderly facilities that would be designated, or kindergarten and so on. What differs at this time? What is the difference at this time? The administration owes us an explanation. Why is it that there is a different treatment? Is it because of the welfare facilities that you have to make this arrangement? Previously, the housing society will build the project, and they will designate a certain space for these facilities. You have to explain to us why the treatment like this time. Second, Chairman, this is a remote area. This is, we have the CCC, Childcare Center for children from birth to 3, and the children will have to be taken there by the parents if they are located in a convenient location. Well, easily accessible, it would be a different story, but this is a pretty remote area, Chairman. And the parents either have to drive them there themselves, or they will have to take the public transport. As of now, we're not sure about the arrangement for the public transport. Would there be a new road, a two-way road linking or leading up to this area if the parents are driving the kids there? And you said that the entrance will be a prohibited zone for private vehicles. Would there be any problems there? And you will have to make arrangement for the traffic. You haven't quite done that at the moment. So what are you doing right now? We'd like to get more details. And also the daycare center for the elderly. Again, this is very remote. Now there are elderly people who are using the voucher scheme, and they will have to get on the bus at 7 a.m. and the bus will be going round and round in circle to pick up all the other elderly people, and the last person to get on would be at 9 o'clock. And I think they will have to spend a long time on the buses. Now these centers, they will finish at 2 p.m. If they're last to get off, they will have to stay on the bus for 2 hours. Now this is a remote area. I think this is very much a torture of the elderly folks. Do you have a better location? Are you really running a sort of land in such a way that you have to take anywhere that is available? I am concerned that going forward, the CCC and the DE, I'm not sure whether you are able to maximize the public resources. And it is really questionable. I hope the administration would explain to us in sufficient detail today.
Undersecretary Mr. Ho, let me briefly respond. This is a facility prepared for the new development project in the area. As mentioned, in Ling Village and Ling Village, there will be an additional of 12,000 population. So the total population will be nearby 18,000, including the Tung and other areas. It will be quite a large population there. Maybe at a glance, you don't think that there are a lot of people living there, but it will be developed in the future. So it is not a remote area. We are preparing for the population that we expect to move in the future. Certainly, the shuttle bus will plan the route according to needs, but I don't think it is going to take 2 hours. Certainly, there will be different orders of getting on the buses. Next, Mr. Ken Wong. Thank you, Chairman. I have 2 concerns. First, the surface quota. Is it sufficient to meet the needs? According to the document, in the project, the whole additional population will be about 18,600. So my question is the proposed DE and EC and CCC sufficient to meet the needs? Will the waiting time be too long? Do you have a mechanism to monitor the changes of demand and supply within the district so that there will be spaces reserved for future expansion? Second, about the selection and the operation of the selected welfare institution. In your existing plan, you will select a welfare institute to operate it after the construction is completed. If there is any delay, will the commencement of services also be delayed? Will you consider to conduct selection in advance so that during construction phase, the welfare institution can already be jumping on board? That the result will be a seamless transition. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for your question. For CCC, we do hope that there will be more facilities for parents. In Chung District, in the nearby area, there are already a number of facilities. Well, especially in the vicinity of this center, there are similar facilities in plan in order to ease the needs. For example, in Lake Yumun, there will be a new CCC beginning the first quarter next year. In Tak Tin Street, it will be a facility commencing in 27 and 28, and in Pecuniary Road, there will be another facility starting in 2028 and 2029. So there will be 3 new facilities in the area of Lam Chin and Kwun Tong. And it is rather localized. People will not travel all the way to receive the service. And there are certain demands here. If there are additional land available to us, we will certainly seek to build more facilities. Second, about receiving tender in advance. According to our experience, the welfare institution will have to inspect the site before they can draft the proposal because it's both hardware and software. That's why we expect that they will go into the site for inspection, draft up the proposal, and submit it to us. So it cannot be too early because it will be hard for them to set their goals. even if the site is already constructed. Well, because there are still constructions going on podium level and up, the parents will not take the children there. Therefore, in our plan, in 2032 and 33, we will start receiving tender. Next, Mr. Chung Ho Feng. Thank you, Chairman. First of all, I wish you good health. I have a questions regarding public works. In paragraph 27, you said that energy conservation features will cost us around 600,000 Hong Kong dollars, achieve a 5% energy saving, and the payback period will be about 9 years. That means about 60 to 70,000 of saving per year. Such features required regular maintenance. My question is, what will be the expected longevity of such features? Is it really going to save us money? Speaking of energy conservation, we have very strong feelings regarding the smart elevator. You know, in this complex, we have 14 stories in total. Sometimes, you know, the lift is just too smart. It is too smart that our convenience is being sacrificed. You have 3 different social welfare facilities. I don't think it will be a multi-story building. Well, these kind of energy conservation features are just nice to have. How about you just leave it out so that you can save the 600,000 Hong Kong dollars, because the users will be elderly, housewives and children. If the lift is too smart, they might have trouble traveling. Mr. Sen, the chief architect from ASD. You're correct. There are 3 facilities in total. There are regulations over the social welfare facilities. Its maximum height is within 24 meters, so it will not be multi-levels. Apart from the ground level, maybe it will have first, second, and third floor. So it will not be a very complicated system. That's what I believe. The energy conservation features include a smart lifts system and also the regeneration of energy. That's just energy conservation, not smart features. I believe that our system is mature enough. We have a lot of confidence about its usage. During the design phase, we can also continue our discussion with HS to see if there will be any further energy conservation features, because it is our policy direction. What will be the cost? What will be the maintenance cost? I worry that you have to spend more on maintenance than the energy that you saved. Then I don't see the point. He is asking about the cost efficiency, how much you can save from it, and how long is it going to take before you can recover the cost. We don't have the information on hand. As I said, this is not some state-of-the-art system. It's just an energy conservation features. We trust that its maintenance cost will not be too far from the existing system. We believe that it will have a reasonable period of usage. Next, Mr. Hong Kam-in. Thank you, Chairman. I support this item. I would also like to express my concerns. The existing site is very remoted, and you are planning elderly center and childcare center. My worry is how people are going to travel that. Ling village has a construction site going on. What is the progress? We can't see any visible progress. In paragraph 15, there will be a 2-phase expenditure plan in 2032 to 33. That will be the first phase, 33 to 34, second phase. And it will be delivered to HS for foundational work. But when you appropriate the funding, you are not paying until 2032. why is there such a huge time gap? My third question is, in paragraph 17, we estimate the annual recurrent expenditure arising from the project is about 24.96 million. Upon completion, every year the government has to pay an additional 24.96 million Hong Kong dollars as operation cost. How is it going to be spent? Please clarify. Thank you. The Secretary. Let me respond. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for your question, Mr. Hong. In the new development area, Mr. Hong has been deep-rooted in Kwun. We need to be forward-looking. Like Tai Tok Mountain, there is no one living there, but we have to build these kind of projects so that the residents in Anderson Road can make use of it. There are a lot of elderly facilities and childcare facilities in that area. We are not meeting the needs for the elderly that is currently living in the Charcoaling Village. We are preparing for the new developed area in Charcoaling Village and Coling Road. There will be new residents moving in. And of course, there will be some users coming out of the area. The reason why we have to pay right now is that because we're not going to pay until HS has finished the construction. That's why we're only paying in 2032. Upon receiving the constructions, it will be 2033. As for the recurrent expenditure of 24.96 million, we are talking about the operation cost of the three facilities. As explained by Mr. Yong, for the DE, we are giving them 60 to 70,000 Hong Kong dollars per annum. It will be included in our future budget, and the funds will be appropriate in the coming budget. So it will mainly be staff salary as well as the operation of the facility. Well, just now you have mentioned about Anderson Road. I think it cannot be compared because there are already public housing estates. For this particular site, there is no major constructions going on. That is also a rather younger area. There are not a lot of elderly requiring such service. For the young child, well, since it is a high-income area, a lot of families are having their own domestic helpers. Therefore, the users are coming out of the area. Let me supplement. The reason why we want to develop Site E first, because there's this government land involving a small piece of private land that we have acquired. Other areas in Charcoaling Village is still under the period of land acquisition. We trust that the whole site will be delivered to HS by 2028. We are preparing for the whole Charcoaling Village and the Coling area. This is not just targeting at the existing Charcoaling Village. Next, Ms. Christine Fong. Thank you. I can understand from the information provided that because you have to deliver the site to HS, and we're looking at the daycare center for the elderly, the NEC, as well as the child care center. I believe that they are all standardized. If you can provide us with the plan in advance, it will facilitate our decision making. It is important for both us and the FC. I thought that we will be lacking documents only on district council level. Well, as mentioned by the Undersecretary, after we exceed the Chung Lam Tin Tunnel, we will be arriving this land right next to the Tin Hao Temple. I understand that there will be some upcoming public housing estate, so you are truly planning for future development. But we really do not have enough CCC because, while childcare center is not flexible, you might have built certain kindergarten, and it is under the regulations of the Education Bureau. I hope that there will be more CCC, just like Chung in Area 68. There will be one CCC that is operated by the government and open to the general public, and there is only one. We are talking about hundreds and thousands of people, and there's only one CCC. From Lohas Park, within 5 minutes drive, I will be able to arrive at the land next to Qinghao Temple at Chaku Ling Village. I understand the concerns of my colleagues, like Mr. Dennis Long. He's asking, how are you going to drop off an infant? There are many young couples who believe that they can send their kids to the nursery class when at the age of 2. Apart from the domestic helper, they also want to find daycare services in order to release the manpower of the mom. They might just drop off the 6-month-old baby at the child care center. With daycare services, it will be even better if the center can accommodate the domestic helpers, because there will be a double monitoring. On the podium level, I hope that you can include more covered pathway. Well, as Mr. Lam has mentioned, if you have to transfer the elderly in wheelchair to access the DE or NEC, it will be very difficult for them to hold an umbrella. When they access the podium, I believe that there is a need of covered pathway. In Chaku Ling Road, I have repeatedly voiced that it is connecting to the Chengkun O Road because there are constantly traffic jam. What people are asking if the new Link Road will be connecting to other roads, because Chaku Link Road has always been a bottleneck, and now you are developing some welfare facilities. Would you be reserving land for expansion of road as well?
Mr. Ho, thank you very much, Madam Fong, for your question. Indeed, we will try to provide for the CCCs in the area. We are making available the other CCCs for the members of the public as well. That the CCCs are not exclusively for this district. It is right at the exit of the Zhangguanou Lamtin Tunnel. It is pretty accessible. However, there is no separate car park, although there are some points for picking up and setting down passengers. And there are other facilities that will be integrated with other departments. We'll pass on the message. Right, last speaker, Ms. Julia Lau. Chairman, thank you. I must declare that I'm a member of the Housing Society. My question is, in terms of the design and the urgency, that this is to provide the daycare center for the elderly and the childcare center according to the Hong Kong Planning Standard and Guidelines. This standard is 100 places per 250,000 people. Now for Chakualing, there is going to be additional population of 186,000. So this is in line. According to the guidelines, a subvented childcare center need 530 square meters. That include the nursery room, toilet, and all the partitioning. For a DE, it should be 328 square meters. For the neighborhood elderly center, it should be 303 square meters. Now, here it is covering a size of 5,700 square meters. How do you work out the size? And what is the ratio, what is the proportion taken up by these various welfare institutions? Mr. Ho, Chairman, I defer to the ASD. Mr. Sen, Willie Sen, Chief Architect. We talked about the net floor area. The areas are along the same line as the member said. That's the internal usable area, 500 square meters for the CCC. So the total is 1,200 square meters. The member had mentioned 5,700 square meters. That's the site, the size of the site in Site E. Ms. Lau? So that's double the required space, is that right? Mr. Sen? As indicated in the paper, all these welfare facilities we have the floor area of 2,700 square meters. We also have all the other supporting facilities like the lift lobby, the corridors, and so on. If we add this together, then the 2,700 would be about right. And you also asked a question about the proportion. It is about 5% of the entire project. Now, this is in line with the government's requirement of providing 5% of welfare facilities in the entire project. Unless members have any further questions, I'll put the paper to the vote. Will members in favor of PWSC 20, 25, 26, 20, please raise their hands. Those against? 1. I think the majority of members present voted in favor of this proposal. The proposal is carried. A vote is now taken on whether to recommend that the FC discuss this paper further. In accordance with Rule 41A, I now put the following question to the vote. The PWSC recommends that the FC further discuss the proposal set out in PWSC 2025-26-20. Just a reminder that if this motion is carried, it means that the PWSC recommends that the FC discuss the paper further. If it is rejected, it means that the PWSC does not recommend that the FC discuss the paper further. Will those in favor of this motion please raise their hands? Those against? I think the majority of members present rejected this motion. The motion is rejected. The PWSC recommends that the FC not have further discussion of paper PWSC 2025-26-20. The funding proposal approved today are expected to be submitted to the Finance Committee in April 2026 or thereafter. My thanks to the officials for being with us. The next meeting is scheduled for the 22nd of April 2026 between 8:30 and 10:30 a.m. Please attend punctually. Meeting is now adjourned. Thank you all very much.